former Senior Chief Petty Officer Cole Bennett had been working as an independent contractor doing home security installations in Charleston, South Carolina, for 13 months since leaving the Navy SEALs. At 37 years old, Cole hadn't retired due to physical injury or catastrophic mission failure. He left because, after 15 years of operations across multiple theaters, he realized he was becoming emotionally numb to violence and needed to step away before that numbness became permanent. The decision was voluntary but profoundly painful, walking away from brotherhood forged through shared danger, purpose that gave meaning to every day, and the identity that had defined his entire adult life since age 22. Now, he installed alarm systems for suburban families, drove between appointments alone with only his thoughts for company, and tried to convince himself that comfortable civilian anonymity was what healing looked like. His companion was Rookie, a 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy Cole adopted 3 weeks ago from a military working dog breeding program washout. Rookie had failed early socialization testing for being too timid and noise-sensitive for MWD training requirements. But Cole saw something different when he met the puppy. A young dog experiencing completely normal puppy anxiety that breeding programs rejected because military needs demanded confidence from day one, leaving no room for individuals who needed patience to develop. German Shepherds were renowned for their intelligence, loyalty, strong work ethic, and protective nature, making them ideal for military working dog programs when they exhibited the right temperament early. Cole took Rookie as a project, something to care for that didn't involve combat operations, something innocent that needed patience rather than tactical expertise, something that reminded him why protecting vulnerable beings mattered. On a warm Saturday afternoon, when Charleston humidity made everything feel thick and slow, Cole was having lunch at a casual waterfront restaurant in downtown Charleston, seated in a corner booth with Rookie lying quietly under the table in his service dog-in-training vest. Cole was working on basic obedience and public socialization with the puppy, teaching him to remain calm in busy environments, fundamental skills for any service dog candidate. The restaurant was moderately busy with weekend crowds, families celebrating occasions, couples enjoying harbor views, tourists experiencing Charleston's famous hospitality and cuisine. At a nearby table, approximately 15 feet away, sat a couple in their mid-30s, wearing expensive designer clothing and exhibiting the kind of entitled body language Cole recognized from years of reading people in operational environments. The man was speaking loudly on his phone about real estate deals and investment properties. The woman was complaining to their waitress about everything: water temperature, menu options, table location, ambient noise levels from other diners. Their behavior was drawing uncomfortable attention from other diners who exchanged knowing glances, but the restaurant staff handled it professionally with practiced patience. The waitress, a young woman, approximately early 20s, named Emma, according to her name tag, was clearly new to the position. She was nervous, apologetic, doing her absolute best to accommodate the couple's escalating demands with genuine effort. When she brought their entrees after a reasonable wait time, the man inspected his steak with exaggerated displeasure and theatrical disgust. "This is medium well. I specifically ordered medium rare. Are you completely incompetent? Do you even know how to do your job? This is unacceptable." Emma apologized profusely with genuine distress, immediately offered to have it recooked properly. The woman added her own complaints with equal disdain. "And my pasta is cold. This is completely unacceptable. We're not paying for this disaster of a meal." Cole watched from his booth, recognizing the familiar pattern: entitled people using service workers as targets for their need to feel superior, escalating complaints strategically to justify not tipping or paying the bill. It was unpleasant, but common enough that Cole stayed out of it initially. Not his business, not his problem, and he'd left the SEALs specifically to avoid confrontation. Then, the situation escalated dramatically. Emma returned approximately 10 minutes later with replacement meals, moving carefully through the crowded restaurant with focused concentration. As she approached their table carrying hot plates, Rookie, being a curious 4-month-old puppy still learning spatial awareness, shifted position under Cole's table, his tail extending slightly into the narrow aisle. Emma didn't see it in the dim lighting and tight space between tables. She stumbled slightly over Rookie's tail, lost balance, and the replacement plates tilted precariously. Sauce spilled onto the woman's designer dress. The woman shrieked dramatically and leapt up from her seat. The man stood aggressively, face contorting with rage. Emma immediately apologized with genuine horror. "I'm so sorry. There was a puppy under that table. I didn't see him in the lighting. Let me get towels immediately. We'll absolutely cover your dry cleaning costs. I'm so sorry." But the couple wasn't interested in apologies or reasonable solutions. The man shoved Emma hard enough that she stumbled backward into another table, knocking over water glasses. "You clumsy idiot. That dress costs more than you make in a month. You're going to pay for this personally," the woman added with vicious intensity. "And that filthy dog shouldn't even be in here. Who brings a dog to a restaurant?" Emma was trying to apologize while backing away from the aggressive couple, but the man advanced on her, menacingly, shouting threats about lawsuits and demanding the manager with entitled fury. That's when he noticed Rookie peeking out from under Cole's table, a 4-month-old puppy wearing a training vest, looking confused by the loud commotion and human anger. The man's face twisted with additional anger. "That's your dog. Your animal ruined my wife's dress. I'm going to have that thing removed from here permanently." He moved toward Rookie aggressively, not just approaching, but raising his foot as if to kick the puppy with deliberate intent to cause pain. That's when Cole's combat instincts overrode his civilian detachment completely. In the half-second before the man's foot connected with a 4-month-old puppy, Cole was out of the booth and between them with speed that shocked everyone watching, catching the man's leg mid-kick with a controlled grip that stopped momentum completely without causing injury, but communicated unmistakable capability. "Don't," Cole said calmly, with military authority, still holding the man's leg in a position that could easily become a takedown but hadn't escalated yet. "He's a puppy, 4 months old, service dog in training. You're about to kick a trainee service animal in a public restaurant because your meal got sauce on your wife's dress. Think very carefully about your next decision." The man tried to yank his leg free aggressively and couldn't. Cole's grip was precise, immobilizing without causing pain, but with clear implication that escalation would be unwise. "Let go of me. I'll have you arrested for assault. Do you know who I am? Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" Cole released the leg, but maintained protective positioning between the man and Rookie. I don't care who you are. You shoved a waitress hard enough that witnesses saw her stumble into furniture. You attempted to kick a service dog puppy. Both are crimes in South Carolina. The waitress stumbled over him accidentally. He's 4 months old and still learning public behavior. Your response is assault on a person and attempted animal cruelty. I'm a witness. So is everyone in this restaurant who's recording this on their phones right now. Cole gestured subtly to at least 6 diners holding up smartphones, filming the confrontation with clear intention. The couple's faces shifted from anger to calculation. They were being recorded assaulting staff and attempting to kick a service dog puppy. That's the kind of viral video that destroys reputations permanently. The restaurant manager arrived rapidly, having been alerted by staff observing the confrontation. Cole provided his detailed account. The couple escalated a minor accident into assault on staff and attempted animal cruelty. Emma, still shaken and fighting tears, confirmed Cole's version. Multiple diners immediately offered to provide video evidence. The manager asked the couple to leave immediately, or he was calling police without further discussion. The man tried one final play at dominance and control. You're all making a huge mistake. My attorney will destroy this restaurant. And you, pointing at Cole with threatening intensity, I'm pressing charges for assault. You grabbed me. That's battery. Cole's response was calm, but loaded with military authority and legal knowledge. I prevented you from kicking a 4-month-old service dog puppy. That's defense of another, specifically legal in South Carolina under state law. You shoved a waitress hard enough that multiple witnesses saw her stumble into furniture. That's assault and battery on your part. You attempted to kick a service animal, which violates state animal cruelty statutes and federal ADA provisions for service animals in training. Every person here recorded it. Call your attorney. Call the police. I'll wait. I'm retired Navy SEAL. I've testified in federal court during counter-terrorism prosecutions. I'm very comfortable explaining to police exactly what happened here and providing precise legal definitions for each action you took. The couple's calculation shifted visibly. They were being recorded committing crimes by multiple witnesses, confronted by someone with military credibility and apparent legal knowledge, and the entire restaurant was watching them with obvious disapproval and contempt. The man tried to save face one final time. This isn't worth our time, dealing with people like you. We're leaving, but you haven't heard the last of this. My attorney will be in contact. They exited rapidly without paying their bill, leaving chaos and emotional damage in their wake. The manager waved off the unpaid check. He was more concerned about Emma, who was crying from stress, fear, and humiliation. Cole checked on her, provided his contact information as a witness if needed, reassured her that she'd done nothing wrong, then returned to his booth where Rookie was still lying quietly, completely oblivious to having been the center of a confrontation that revealed who people really were when tested. The incident would have ended there, an unpleasant confrontation in a restaurant resolved through intervention and documentation, except that the couple wasn't bluffing about their connections and resources. The man was Trevor Ashford, partner at a prominent Charleston law firm with clients throughout state government and extensive political connections. His wife was Jessica Ashford, daughter of a major real estate developer with significant political influence and substantial wealth. Within 48 hours, the Ashfords filed comprehensive complaints leveraging their resources, against the restaurant for having a dangerous, untrained animal, in violation of health codes, against Emma for assault, claiming she deliberately spilled food on Jessica, and against Cole for battery and illegally representing an untrained animal as a service dog. The restaurant's owner, a veteran named Marcus Rodriguez, who'd served in the Marines for 8 years, contacted Cole with concern. The Ashfords are leveraging political connections to pressure the health department about service dog policies. They're threatening extensive lawsuits unless we terminate Emma and ban you from the property permanently. They've also filed police reports claiming you assaulted Trevor without provocation. I have the video footage showing he shoved Emma and attempted to kick your puppy. But they have expensive attorneys and political connections throughout the city. This could get very complicated very quickly. Cole's first instinct was to settle quietly. He'd left the SEALs specifically to avoid confrontation and conflict, choosing comfortable civilian life over fighting battles that drain you emotionally and psychologically. But Marcus added something that changed Cole's calculation fundamentally. Emma is a single mom, 22 years old, working 2 jobs to support her 3-year-old daughter. She's terrified of losing this position because the Ashfords threatened to blacklist her from restaurant work throughout Charleston. She didn't do anything wrong. She stumbled over your puppy accidentally in dim lighting, and they used it as excuse to assault her. Now they're using their money and connections to punish everyone involved because you stopped Trevor from kicking a 4-month-old puppy. Cole realized this was the test of whether civilian retirement meant anything substantive or just relocated his principles to a place where they didn't cost him anything personally. The Ashfords were wealthy, connected people using power to punish service workers, and a veteran for not accepting their entitlement and for documenting their behavior. This was exactly the kind of unchecked abuse Cole left the military to avoid. But avoiding it just meant pretending it didn't happen, not actually stopping it. Cole made a decision that required confronting what he'd been avoiding. He wasn't settling, not backing down, and not letting the Ashfords leverage money and connections to destroy Emma's livelihood and claim victimhood when they committed documented assault and attempted animal cruelty recorded by multiple witnesses. Over the following 2 weeks, the situation escalated systematically. The Ashfords used their law firm's substantial resources to threaten everyone involved with aggressive legal action. They pressured the health department to investigate the restaurant's service dog policies. They filed civil lawsuits seeking damages for emotional distress and ruined property. They used media connections to plant stories portraying themselves as victims of an aggressive veteran and untrained aggressive dog. Cole responded by organizing the witnesses using skills from military operations. He systematically collected video footage from all 6 diners who recorded the incident. He provided detailed written statements using his SEAL training in after-action, reporting with precision and legal accuracy. He contacted veteran advocacy organizations who recognized this as harassment of a veteran and service worker. He connected Emma with pro bono legal representation through veteran legal aid organizations. The turning point came when local media, having initially been fed the Ashfords' narrative about being victimized, received the actual video footage showing Trevor shoving Emma, attempting to kick Rookie, and Cole intervening with controlled de-escalation using minimal necessary force. The story shifted dramatically once evidence contradicted the Ashfords' claims. Wealthy couple assaults waitress and attempts to kick service puppy. Veteran intervenes. Public reaction was swift and severe. The video went viral with millions of views across multiple platforms. The Ashfords faced intense social media backlash. Trevor's law firm received hundreds of complaints about their partner's behavior. Jessica's father faced uncomfortable questions about his daughter's conduct. Major clients began reconsidering their associations. Most significantly, other service workers throughout Charleston came forward with stories of the Ashfords' documented pattern of abusing restaurant staff, retail workers, and service professionals with complete impunity because their wealth and connections had always prevented consequences. The Ashfords attempted damage control by claiming the video was edited and misleading, and that they were defending themselves against an aggressive veteran with PTSD. This backfired spectacularly when Cole released his full witness statement, written with military precision and legal accuracy, detailing every action, every threat, every attempt at intimidation, and concluding with devastating clarity. I am a retired Navy SEAL who's testified in federal court during counter-terrorism prosecutions. I documented this incident with the same precision I used writing operational after-action reports for missions involving civilian casualties and rules of engagement. Every detail is accurate, time-stamped, and supported by video evidence from 6 independent sources. The Ashfords assaulted a service worker and attempted to kick a 4-month-old service dog puppy. Everything that followed is their calculated attempt to use wealth and connections to avoid accountability for actions everyone witnessed and recorded. I'm prepared to testify under oath to every detail. The statement's precision and Cole's credibility made the Ashfords' claims of victimhood impossible to sustain. The Charleston Police Department reviewed all evidence comprehensively and declined to press any charges against Cole. The video clearly showed him intervening to prevent animal cruelty using minimal necessary force consistent with defense of another. Instead, they charged Trevor Ashford with simple assault for shoving Emma with sufficient force to cause her to stumble into furniture. The Health Department investigation found no violations at the restaurant. Rookie was legitimately in service dog training status under South Carolina law and properly controlled under handler supervision. The Ashfords' civil lawsuits were dismissed by a judge who noted pointedly in the written ruling, "Video evidence clearly shows the plaintiffs initiated physical aggression toward restaurant staff and attempted to kick a service animal puppy. The defendant's intervention was measured, controlled, and lawful under South Carolina defense of another statutes. This lawsuit appears to be retaliatory harassment against individuals who prevented animal cruelty and documented assault. Plaintiffs are warned that continued frivolous litigation may result in sanctions." Trevor Ashford faced significant professional consequences. His law firm, facing sustained public pressure and multiple client concerns about being associated with his behavior, placed him on unpaid leave pending ethics review. He eventually resigned rather than face formal discipline proceedings that would become public record. Jessica Ashford's substantial social media presence, previously focused on luxury lifestyle content, showcasing designer purchases and expensive vacations, became flooded with thousands of comments about her behavior towards service workers, effectively destroying her influencer career. Emma kept her job and received overwhelming community support, that restored her faith in people. Diners specifically requested her service section, tipped generously, far exceeding standard percentages, and several other restaurant owners offered her positions with better pay if she wanted to move. Marcus Rodriguez's restaurant saw measurably increased business from supporters who appreciated him backing his staff over wealthy bullies, demonstrating that ethical business practices could be financially rewarding. Cole and Rookie became local figures representing veteran advocacy and service dog training. Cole began volunteering with service dog organizations, using Rookie's ongoing training to demonstrate proper public behavior and educate people about service animals in training. Research showed that service dogs could significantly reduce PTSD symptoms in veterans, with studies demonstrating 66% lower odds of PTSD diagnosis after 3 months and significantly lower symptom severity. The incident gave Cole something he'd been missing since retirement: purpose that didn't require combat, but still involved protecting people who needed protection, using skills that mattered in civilian contexts. 6 months after the restaurant incident, Cole was invited to speak at a veteran service dog training graduation ceremony attended by dozens of veterans paired with newly trained service dogs. During his remarks to the assembled veterans, handlers, and supporters, Cole addressed the question everyone asked: why intervene over something as seemingly minor as sauce spilled on a dress? Why risk confrontation with wealthy, connected people over a puppy? Cole's answer became widely shared in veteran communities and service dog organizations. I left the SEALs because I was becoming emotionally numb to violence and needed to remember that civilization requires people to protect others even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. That couple assaulted a waitress and tried to kick a 4-month-old puppy because they felt entitled to hurt anyone who inconvenienced them. Emma was a 22-year-old single mum who couldn't defend herself against wealthy people with attorneys and political connections. Rookie was a puppy who washed out of military training for being too timid. Exactly the kind of vulnerable being that bullies target because they can't fight back. Intervening wasn't heroic. It was just refusing to be the kind of civilian who watches abuse happen and does nothing because getting involved is uncomfortable. Research shows service dogs reduce PTSD symptoms in veterans by significant margins. 66% lower odds of diagnosis after 3 months. These animals give everything to help veterans heal. We owe them protection. Sometimes the most important operations aren't overseas. They're in restaurants where people who serve us deserve protection from those who think money means they can hurt anyone without consequences. The presentation included Rookie, now 10 months old, demonstrating advanced obedience and public access skills that proved timid puppies could become confident service dogs with proper training and patience. 1 year after the incident, Cole had expanded his volunteer work to include training other veterans in service dog handling, applying his military experience to civilian applications that made meaningful differences. He also began consulting with restaurants and businesses about service dog policies and staff training for handling confrontations involving service animals, using his experience to prevent other situations like Emma's. Emma completed her education while continuing restaurant work, inspired by the community support to pursue social work, helping other young single mothers navigate challenges. The Ashfords largely disappeared from Charleston social circles, their reputation permanently damaged by video evidence of who they were when they thought wealth provided immunity from consequences. 2 years after that Saturday afternoon, Cole received recognition from veterans service dog organizations for advocacy work that helped dozens of veterans successfully partner with service dogs. Research continued demonstrating that service dogs profoundly catalyzed growth among veterans with PTSD through providing emotional support, enhancing relationships, reducing isolation, and reinforcing purpose. Studies showed that veterans with service dogs experienced significantly lower PTSD symptom severity, 41.9 versus 51.7 on standardized measures, lower anxiety, lower depression, and 66% lower odds of receiving PTSD diagnosis. During an interview about his advocacy work, Cole was asked about the lasting impact of intervening that day. His answer captured everything. "Rookie taught me that retiring from the SEALs didn't mean abandoning the responsibility to protect vulnerable people. It just meant finding different applications for the same principles." That 4-month-old puppy who washed out of military training for being too timid is now a confident service dog candidate, helping other veterans. Emma, who was terrified that day, is now studying to help other single mothers. And I learned that the numbness I was afraid would become permanent wasn't. It was just waiting for a situation that reminded me why protecting others matters regardless of whether it's convenient. Sometimes doing the right thing costs something. The Ashfords had wealth and connections, but they couldn't overcome video evidence and people who refused to accept that money buys immunity from basic decency. The stuck-up couple who kicked a waitress and attempted to kick a K-9 puppy learned that their wealth and connections couldn't protect them when a Navy SEAL in the booth decided that civilian retirement doesn't mean abandoning the responsibility to protect vulnerable people from bullies who believe entitlement exempts them from basic decency, proving that sometimes the most significant intervention happens not on battlefields, but in ordinary restaurants, where someone has to decide whether comfortable anonymity matters more than stopping people from hurting a scared waitress and a 4-month-old puppy who did nothing wrong except exist in a space where entitled people decided their inconvenience justified violence. And demonstrating that warriors don't stop being warriors when they retire. They just find new missions that require the same courage, the same willingness to stand up when others look away, and the same understanding that protecting the vulnerable is what separates civilization from chaos, regardless of whether the battlefield is overseas or just 15 feet away in a waterfront restaurant where someone needs to decide if comfort matters more than doing what's right when it costs something.